I want to welcome everybody back to the Real Santa Fe podcast, where we shine a light on the chefs, the artists, and the makers who make our city unlike anywhere else. And today's guest, I'm so excited. We've been planning to do this for, I don't know, seems like years, but it's a true Santa Fe standout, one of my best friends, and one of the most fascinating people I know, Chef Kathleen Cook, Cat Crook, Crook, why am I saying that wrong? I can't even talk. I ran in the door. I can't speak. But Cat is the executive chef and owner of Market Steer Steakhouse and recently named to the James Beard Foundation's TasteTwenty list. And Cat isn't just making incredible food and running everybody's favorite new restaurant, at least in a new location. You're representing Santa Fe on the national stage and bringing your roots, your rodeo grit. I love that. And your passion for sustainability to everything you do. So we are fellow Eastern New Mexico girls. Tell folks where you're from.
I'm from Artesia, New Mexico.
So cool. Can we talk for a second about your life before cooking?
Sure. Oh man, life before cooking was wild.
You hold some titles other than being James the James Beard chef. What are all those awards in the restaurant for?
All for my Market Steer showing, 4-H and FFAs. I have some rodeo awards in there, and my world champion saddle sets in there.
That's so cool. So we take people all the time, of course, as you know, we bring people to the restaurant. They're always like, what is all this stuff? And I said, it's all Cat, every bit of it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That is so cool. So what, for people who don't know very much about rodeo, because we never, ever want to assume that people who are listening come from the exact same background as we do. What does being a world champion roper mean? What exactly do you do to get that?
I mean, well, it's a long road, but it's just a lot of hard work and determination, lots of practice. I correlated a lot to playing sports. It's repetitious and it takes a lot of effort. Back whenever I was rodeoing and going down the road, traveling, doing it and training horses, I mean, it would be nothing for me to have 15 or 20 head of horses saddled a day to rope and train and practice, and then load the trailers on Thursday night to be gone until Monday morning, and it was a lot, but it was definitely what kind of shaped my background and who I am as a person now.
Well, so explain exactly what, I mean, you are wielding a rope from the back of a horse that's moving quickly, right?
Yeah. um that that year I don't remember how it was. Golly, that was a long time ago. I was recalling way back. It takes a lot of skill to to get on a horse, one, and then to be swinging a rope and trying to rope a calf in 2 seconds. And in the breakaway, your rope is tied to your saddle horn with a piece of string. So when you rope the calf and the rope breaks away from the saddle horn, that's when your time stops. So, they all vary from different arenas to different arenas in time, but it's very takes a lot of skill.
Well, so what was the time that won you the world championship?
That one, it was at the Lazy E Arena in Oklahoma City, or in Guthrie, Oklahoma, sorry. I I feel like that a 2-9 won the last round. Yeah. And that's a longer, bigger arena. So, like I said, they all vary from different arenas. But I roped, it was a 5 head average, and I was one of 4 that roped all 5 head. But I roped all 5 head in less than 3.5 seconds.
Wow, that's amazing. And I'm a huge team roping fan, which is
Okay.
just, I think it's like this sort of, it's like ballet. It's so poetic. But
Yes.
um, that's 2.9 seconds. That's crazy. That's fast.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So you and people, if you're listening and you're not watching, you can tell that Cat grew up where folks say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, and that is on a ranch in Artesia. Um, I, we love the story of how you made the decision to move from managing cattle to being a chef. That's one of my favorite stories ever. Can you tell folks what that is?
Sure. Yeah, I was, I think I left home to go to college on a rodeo scholarship and spent way too long in college, probably majored in too much beer drinking, but finished school and did what farm and ranch kids are supposed to do. I went back to take over the farm and the ranch and kind of take over my parents' legacy, if you will. I was at my mom's ranch. Geez, I think we had about 350 head of mama cows, and it's long hours and lots of work, but the wind can blow, especially in southern New Mexico. It can really blow when there's nothing to stop it. And I came in one day and the wind it had been like almost insufferable. And I was up one night watching TV and an infomercial for Scottsdale Culinary Institute came on. And I decided I wanted to change. And so I went and told my mom what I wanted to do. She thought I was absolutely crazy for sure. And yeah, I picked up an Emerald Lagasse cookbook of all cookbooks to pick up. I cooked it cover to cover, and then I sold everything and I sold my truck, trailer, horses, tack, all of it. I bought an SUV, which I'd never driven one, and because all I'd ever driven were big trucks, and went to school and never looked back. Big
That
champ for myself.
and had you did you have much experience cooking before?
None. I mean, at this point, like, I had maybe boiled some water to cook some dry pasta to pour out some spaghetti sauce, and maybe
Right.
grilled cheese here or there. That's why my mom was in such shock. She was like, this is nothing you have ever been like shown interest in or anything else. Like I was always kind of drawn to my grandmother. She was a caterer back when my mom was like in high school, and she was finishing up her business whenever I was, 7 or 8 years old. And I was always kind of drawn to her and I never knew why, but it was definitely a shock to my entire family that this was the path that I wanted to take.
That is, I love that story because sometimes people do that and they go and try something new and it's like, wait a second, they fall flat on their face. You didn't do that. I mean,
I
you
got
got it.
I got lucky.
Well, and you worked hard, which you know how to
Yes,
do.
right. And plus I think I found what kind of fed my soul. It was like, the ranching and the farming, like all that heritage growing up with all that. I would have been a fourth generation farmer and rancher. And, that was also very inspiring to see, my family and the hard work and dedication that all that took. And I think I took all of that and put into culinary school. And then whenever I found like the first time I watched somebody eat something that I make, it that I had made it, it filled my heart in a way that it had never been filled.
Well, thank goodness. Thank goodness. That's how you felt about it. Okay, so you finished culinary school. Where'd you go from there?
I went to Grapevine, Texas. I got hired over the phone from there was a big resort opening there. There was a fine dining steakhouse inside of it called Old Hickory Steakhouse. And the executive chef that's still my mentor, I talked to him yesterday. His name is Tom Fleming. He hired me, and I had never held a job outside of working for myself, training horses, or either one of my parents. So it was a little kind of crazy. I walked into that, and he nicknamed me Cat right away, and he was like, "Okay, you're gonna fit right in," and it was like shake and stir. He's been a great mentor.
And that's a really, I mean, I watch people in kitchens and I especially watch you, but that's a crazy environment to step into, isn't it?
It's
In
just
terms of,
organized chaos at
okay,
all times.
looks
Doesn't
like
doesn't
it.
matter if I get here at 10 o'clock in the morning and me and my prep cooks are making food or it's during dinner service. It's just organized chaos.
I want to be sure people hear that that's disorganized, right? Yes. And yet, it all comes together perfectly. But so you went to Grapevine. Is that where you met Christina?
No, I actually cooked in Grapevine for about a year and a half and decided I didn't want to be in a big city. I'm not sure why I made that decision, but I moved back home. I ran a brew pub in Artesia for about a little over a year and a half, maybe 2 years, I guess I was there. And the same chef that hired me was opening another restaurant in downtown Dallas, and he offered me a position that I couldn't say no to. So I moved back to Dallas. And I opened two restaurants with him, and it was amazing and really fun. And um, God, when I met Christina? That was like 2006. So I met Christina in 2009.
Ah,
Yeah.
and where was that?
That was at a restaurant called Park with a different chef. I was still a sous chef there and still kind of cutting my teeth and learning and trying to figure out, where what I wanted to do when I grew up other than just run kitchens. And yeah, it was really great. She was a server there and rest is kind of history.
That's one of my favorite stories too, is just the two of you, how well you live and work together. It's it's inspiring.
It can be. It's
Well,
always fun.
well,
I mean, we do work very well together and we've worked apart from each other and then we work together and we prefer it together and it's pretty fun to get to share your passion with someone else who's equally as passionate about it.
well, you do it very well. So you were in Dallas, you went to Aspen, right? That was what happened there.
We decided that we wanted to, her family was all from Dallas, and Dallas was kind of one of the only places that I'd ever really cooked other than Scottsdale. And we decided we wanted to do something different. So we had a mutual friend of some restaurateurs in Aspen, and we drove up on a whim. They were looking for a chef and a manager, and I did a tasting. Christina did an interview. We got hired, and it happened really fast. So we packed up our whole house in Dallas and said goodbye to the life that we had started there and just started a new one where it was just us. And that was really kind of special. And it was the first really big leap that we took for us. And Aspen was great. It was a really good time.
So what was the name of that place in Aspen?
We opened Steakhouse 316 and we were there. I think I was there almost 5 years.
Wow. Is it still there?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. And then you came to Santa Fe,
Yep.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
What prompted that?
The seasonality, really. Family and seasonality. We wanted to be closer to her family. We want to be closer to mine. We kind of stalked Santa Fe, if you will. We'd come up and spend a weekend and kind of look around and kind of, could we live here? Could we not? Kind of thing. And it was really kind of interesting. I grew up in New Mexico, but never spent any time in Santa Fe because we were in the southern part of the state, and it's very different. The state's split by I-40, so it was just it's different culture, different thing. But there was something that just drew us both in, like not not only the scenery but the spirituality of Santa Fe, and it just kind of captured us. And then we get 4 seasons here, which was amazing. Which I mean, you can get them all in one day sometimes, but
Right, right. Last
but
week, yeah.
the 7 months of winter in Aspen just got a little bit daunting, and it was just I'm from the desert. Christina's from Dallas. We don't like it was very different, and so we wanted to get out of that, get seasonality, and get where people could come visit a little easier.
So was Market Steer like this was your first outing in
It
Santa
was.
Fe?
Yep. We took we looked at some buildings. Heritage Hotels reached out to us. They were looking for someone to lease the space at the Hotel St. Francis, and we did a request for proposal for them, and we pitched Market Steer. They actually said that Santa Fe doesn't need another steakhouse, and we begged to differ, and I think there was room for all of us here. So the rest is kind of the writing on the wall.
Well, so, and what year did you open? I can't remember.
18, August of 18.
Well, so now I get to be part of the story because my husband Toby and I had gone to El Farol, I think. We'd gone to El Farol, we still live downtown, and we were talking about eating there, and we looked at the menu and it was like, no, we've done this recently. And I said, there is some new place at the St. Francis, we should go by there. And he said, that's kind of the place where restaurants go to die. I said, I know, let's go try it out and see how long they're gonna last. And we went, it was a perfect meal for us because we're both steak lovers, but I think it was in October of 2018 when we
Okay.
first came in and ate with you. And then I stalked you for forever. We did a video together the first year, then we went back and did another one. That was when I was doing the Friday foodies, and you put up with me. You let me keep coming back and bugging you all the time. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
I'm nothing if not tenacious, but so what makes Market Steer different than any other steakhouse?
I think I attribute a lot of it to my background. Kind of not kind of, but knowing how cattle are to be raised and how your food is raised. I think it was huge. It was one thing that Christine and I both talked about. We all have old bosses and old things and things that like, well, when we finally get to do X, we're gonna do it this way, or kind of
Right.
those thought processes. And we we wrote down all of them throughout the years, and it was kind of one of those things when we had the opportunity to open Market Steer, we were like, okay, what do we want to be? What do we want to do? And sustainability was big to me. The humanely raised cattle was big, and I our hospitality, I think, kind of makes it very different. Because it's warm and it's not stuffy and it's not, and I mean we coined the saying, where fine dining meets fun dining, or fun dining meets fine dining. I don't remember how it goes now that I said that. But we want it to be fun and have a good time, and we want to create a culture where people not only want to work with us at Market Steer, but a culture where people want to come in and enjoy Market Steer. And I think that's we tried to be very true to that. It's something that we both kind of live by every day, not only in the back of the house but the front of the house as well. And we knew that would translate to guests because we've worked in positions to where that wasn't the case, and it was one of the things we felt very strongly about. And I would say what separates Market Steer from anything else is culture.
Well, just as an example, I know that after the pandemic, when everybody got really quiet and closed down, I mean, you kept a lot of your staff, and even when you moved,
Right.
you had some dead time there, but everybody was like, we're coming back, we're working for you, right?
Yeah, whenever we closed at Hotel St. Francis to move to the new location on Washington Ave, we were closed for exactly 100 days, and we had 100% of our staff stay on, and which is a huge testament. It's something, and that was something that both of us we were just so proud that, like, what we said we wanted to do, we did, and we continue to feed off of that energy and that positivity every day to keep the culture of our restaurant very well intact.
Well, I think the cool thing, I mean, other than the food is great, and I love you guys, but I think the cool thing is that people kind of feel, even my clients who came in last week, they said it kind of feels like you're eating with family every time.
Yeah, that's cool. I hadn't heard that one. That's
Oh
wow.
no, it's I mean, especially if your staff gets accustomed to seeing people. I mean, I don't know if you cultivate that with them or they just do it, but it always, people call you by name, and it's not because I go there and have a drink every day, but it could be.
Right.
But people feel welcome and sort of like they're hanging out with family, I think,
Yeah.
with really good food. I mean, nobody in my family ever had food like that. Um, so I have a few questions here that my producer created. I think this is a good one. You infuse some New Mexico ingredients into what you create there. Talk about that. Like one of
Well,
your most popular dishes, I'm sure.
yeah, I think you know, we wanted to have nods to New Mexico and make sure that we are being, that not only I was being true to my heritage and my background and I mean, I grew up, my dad raised chilies, like we grew green and red chilies, like and there that was always a thing. Harvest was always so fun. So we wanted to make sure that we had nods to New Mexico, our green chili butter that gets served to the tables, my Tex-Mex mussels that have the autumn roast bueno green chili, um, our green chili risotto. There's little nods here and there that I think are important because it does kind of help tie all the story together and the food to the story to the restaurant to the place that we're at.
Well, I guess we had to talk about the place because you were at the Hotel St. Francis and then you decided to venture elsewhere. And we looked at several different places and then you chose this location that I got to tell you, when you were looking at it, we were both like, oh, that's going to be so much work. And I'm talking about not you, but Toby and I were like, oh my gosh. And wow, what an amazing thing you did with that space. Talk about that a little bit, about the new, I mean, you're not just making food, you created this whole new space in Santa Fe that was really surprising to people.
Totally. And I think, at St. Francis, people were able to see my culinary focus, the food and all that. And Christina wasn't able to express it there, because we couldn't do really anything with decor or whatever. So, when we decided to purchase a building, we were like, oh, we'll just do a little bit, this and that. And then it turned into a lot of bit, and then a lot more of a bit, and then a lot more of a bit. So, looking back now, I'm thankful we made those decisions because now, Christina's vision of how she wanted the restaurant to look and feel very much ties into what the food, right? So it's all very cohesive, but it was a God, I looking back on that year of being under construction, I still like I know it's all come to fruition now, but like that whole waiting game was so hard and we were like, holy cow, what are we doing? Like every day was like, holy freaking cow, what are we doing? And then it just kind of it all fell together. The design of the space, with our designer and Christina and our contractors, it all worked. And now I think everything is I think cohesive is a good word. I think you can walk into one room and not feel like that there's a completely separate room, like between the tack room and the dining room, and the open kitchen, which everybody thought I was crazy for having an open kitchen, but I think it's a good focal point in a bar to have people kind of see not only the action from the bartenders, but from the kitchen and kind of see the inner workings of how it all goes down.
It is an amazing place. And for folks who are familiar with Santa Fe but haven't been here in a few years, it's the old El Mason space on Washington Street. We got to say that. We got to say where they can find you. What's the address?
It's 213 Washington Avenue.
So don't go to the Hotel St. Francis looking for them. You got to go to the new space. And now you've been there. Have you been there a year?
It's almost July 15th will be our year here.
Wow. Are we having a party?
I'm hoping to. That's the plan. It still doesn't feel real. So when we talk about like it's almost been a year, we're like, holy cow, it really has. Like we probably should do a party.
Well, and you did something that was so cool. I remember when we talked about the concept and you kept saying, I really want to do something, craft cocktails or something surprising. You brought back happy hour in Santa Fe. Talk about that. Was such a great idea.
Oh, happy hour. It's a blessing and a curse, but mostly a blessing. At first I was a little apprehensive because I was like, well, I don't want a bar, but it is a bar. But it's so fun because like I got to be creative with food and do a little bit different things that aren't necessary that we don't serve in the dining room. So it's bar specific, but it's created a buzz, and we had no idea it would be this successful. I mean, there's people lined up to come in,
I know, I'm one of them.
and I look out there and I'm like, what did we do? What did we do? But it's like
Yeah,
it's pretty
yeah.
cool still, and it's still very much like those pinch me moments. It's like this is still happening. Like, okay, we can do
No,
this.
I'm gonna tell people if you want to get a seat in the tack room, which is what we call the bar, at 4 o'clock, you have to be in line, you have to be outside, be ready.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
if you come at 5, you're liable to be told, sorry, and you know, that's
Yeah,
how
and
it works.
we don't take reservations in there, so it's first come first serve, and it's and that's it's successful and it's fun and people really like it. I mean, $10 martinis and lobster deviled eggs. Okay.
Oh, those lobster deviled eggs, wow. And talk about what do you have on the menu right this minute that is your favorite thing that you think everybody ought to try?
Man, I always push I love our mussel. I love mussels to begin with.
They're
I worked at
good.
the restaurant back in Dallas and we had mussels. They were four different ways. And so that kind of got me addicted. So that's where all the different renditions of mussels before we opened, I bet we did 20 different renditions of champagne or butter or this or that or like just different ingredients. And finally, Christina kind of looked at each other. I was like, I want something that's New Mexico but Texas. And one of our old chefs we worked with probably needs to own stock in Shinerbach beer because that's what he drank. And we were like, let's do a nod to that. And then the green chili, and it kind of all made sense. So, I always push the green chili mussels. I think they're really, or the Tex-Mex mussels. Um, in the bar right now, I'm doing a caviar play on Frito pie.
I'm telling you, it's so good. You got to describe it.
It's fun. I wanted the Frito pie bag, but I didn't want to use Fritos, so we make our own chips, and then it's the typical or the usual suspects with caviar, creme fraiche and chives and this and that, and then the caviar on top. It's just fun, and it's a playful spin on something that's usually seen pretty serious, and I didn't want it to be a serious dish, but it tastes good.
It is so good. It is so good. So, what do you think about how are things different from when you started here in 2018? How's the food scene different?
I think it's changed. I think there's been some turnover or not really turnover, but there's been some new chefs, at say the Compound and at Geronimo and at Santa Cafe, like all of that's kind of changed since we've been here. I think there's a little bit younger blood coming in,
Oh yeah. Oh
which
yeah.
I think, I always call the Santa Fe culinary scene tiny but mighty, and I think there's some really great chefs in a very small space. I mean, Santa Fe is what, not even 100,000 people,
Oh no. Not
or
even
80,
80, I don't
85.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but there's some really talented chefs in this town. And I think, I've seen it evolve out of kind of some old school stuff into some new blood, which is kind of fun and exciting, and it keeps everybody on their toes because we can't just have one good restaurant. We need several to
We have a
develop.
lot. For people
Yeah,
who don't know, this is a foodie town.
for sure. Absolutely.
So we got to talk about the James Beard thing.
Whew.
Congratulations. So
Thank
talk,
you.
so you got chosen as one of the TasteTwenty chefs. How did you get that news?
Um, the there's a lady in town that Natalie Bovis that she works for the James Beard Foundation. And she sent an email, said she wanted to meet up with us and kind of told us the news, and it was we walked out. It took like 20 minutes, 30 minutes for this whole meeting. We walked out and I looked at Christina and I was just like I was speechless. It was like, as a chef, there's a couple awards that you want to win along the way, or be recognized by or whatever. And I'm a bit of a competitive person, shocker. But I think when I started this industry and kind of started moving up in the ranks and where you could get recognized for this, James Beard was always the one that I was kind of sought after and thought, well, if I ever, and it was like that was a dream that I set in motion years ago, and to have it come to fruition was it still it's kind of like this building and this restaurant. It still doesn't feel real yet, but it's a big honor, and it's a big honor just to be in the conversation of an organization such as James Beard.
So what's the criteria other than you know how to do more than boil water?
Um, are we talking specific to James Beard or to the kitchen?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
They talk a lot about, good food for people and sustainability and, character and talent and all this. And I think you kind of have to encompass a lot of all of it. And which, the sustainability really speaks to me because I don't think people really know where their food comes from. I think that and a lot of restaurants don't care, they just want to feed you. And it's, with my farming and ranching background, I want to make sure that I'm, bringing in sustainable, ingredients that are good for you. And I think that's huge. The I made notes because I get lost in my head sometimes.
Well, I got here something that the foundation emphasized not just your talent, but your leadership and community advocacy. Is that a piece of it?
Totally. And leadership's huge, and it's not just in the kitchen. It's not just, it's like, being at other events with other chefs, it's like kind of that old saying, do unto others, you do on yourself. But, it's like we're all leaders in our own right. But like when you're actually being a leader, not only in your building, but outside your building, then that's when it becomes a more global picture, I think. You know, I
Well, you give away time. I know that you give away your time. I know you do it for cooking
totally
with kids. You do it for, like the LA fire benefit. I don't, for wine and chili. I mean, those are all events that
wine and
benefit
chili.
the
They sign
community.
me up for. I say they. Christina signs me up for everything. So I have like I have like 5 events during chili wine or wine and chili. But it's kind of it's fun, and I think leadership is a backbone of any organization. And it takes leadership not only from me but from my cooks and from the staff, and I don't know. It's huge. It's one of my favorite words to use and to live by.
Yeah, me too. And how does it work? So you're with 19 other chefs.
Correct.
You're in the 20.
Uh-huh.
What happens? What's the deal?
So I honestly, I'm still reading up and kind of learning quite a bit about like the process, but what we go to LA to do is to help a fundraiser for the James Beard Foundation. So, they're what the goal is to create some camaraderie between chefs across the country. And that's my goal with going out there, as well as, like making some connections and learning from other people and getting to network and download, like, hey, I've had this going on in my kitchen. Have you had these similar things? And, to talk to people that are like-minded in the industry and really like kind of lift each other up. I think that's a lot of the things that I like about leadership as well, is, there's certain people in any city you go to in your current field, it doesn't matter, that want to keep you down. And I'd like that to go away, especially in the culinary world. I would like it to be a little bit more where it's uplifting and positive, and it's not, well, that restaurant, I don't want to do that, and it's kind of one of those things where, this, I think, getting together with 19 other people that are like-minded, that's the goal for me, is to take away some positivity and help create a bond of camaraderie.
I talk about collaboration all the time, collaboration over competition, because competition is grueling after a while. I mean,
Totally. It's
and I'm not the
exhausting.
smartest person in the room ever. So if I can collab with somebody,
Yeah.
I know I'm saying stuff that you believe too, but are you,
Totally.
so there's gonna be an event here, right, in Santa Fe as well?
Yeah, in November, we're hosting a James Beard dinner, which is also the proceeds go to some, I mean, obviously to us, but then to the James Beard Foundation as well. But it'll be fun, and I get to collab with another chef here in town that I kind of got the pick, which was fun, or I got to suggest a couple, and the Beard organization goes through their process on who they want, to put in this, but Allison Jenkins from Arroyo Vino will be
Ah,
my collab chef. So she'll get to do two courses and I'll get to do two courses and I'll be she's the guest chef, I'm the featured chef, but it'll be fun and I've never collaborated with her before, so I think it'll be a cool process. I'm looking forward to it.
well, I've gone to one of those before. I went to one, at the Coyote Cafe, I think, best food. It was amazing.
Yeah,
So good. So I'm gonna tell folks, watch and wait, and it doesn't matter what the tickets cost, you gotta get in there. So, oh, we got it, let's do, okay, first of all, we haven't talked about this yet. What, you've said a lot about sustainability, but what makes the beef that you serve different? Well, I mean, where does it come from? Talk about that.
um I buy from a boutique butcher out of Denver, and our the goal was I met him in Aspen when he was very first kind of branching outside of the Denver market. He's a third generation Italian butcher. His name is Snooky. Um, he
Wow.
he's so talented and he cares in a way that I care about what I serve. So he buys from we try not to buy from big conglomerates like JBS or IBP or whatever. We don't buy from big producers like that. He buys from smaller co-op run ranches and feed yards to where, you know, he'll bring them in and then finish the meat cutting process on them. But we know who these people are. We know how they're raising their animals. We know what they're eating. We know the sustainability of what's going on behind the scenes is happening the way that we want it to, and it shows in the product. So, one thing that I can say about all of our beef here that we serve, it's all never ever. So no growth hormones, no antibiotics, no steroids, no anything. I mean, basically if one of the animals that we're feeding out gets sick, like they can't get a flu shot to stay in the program, right?
Wow.
It's like an amped up basic ibuprofen to help them get over their sickness, but we want it to stay as natural as possible.
And you have a New Mexico cut as well, right?
Do, yeah, and I buy all of that beef from a ranch outside of Madrid in Golden, New Mexico called Lone Mountain Ranch. And they are one of, I think, six ranches in the continental United States that have 100% Japanese bloodlines back to Kobe. So, and they are very serious about their operation out there. I do tours with my staff out there. I think it's important for, not only my cooks, but the service staff to know, like, this is where the meat that we serve that you guys feature every day in the restaurant, this is where it's raised. This is where it's grown, how it's grown. And it's important that they know that.
Well, and it's part of the culture. I mean, how amazing that they get to be part of that culture where they can be proud of everything they're serving.
Totally. And that
Yeah.
they have all the information, that there's no smoke and mirrors, I guess, but with that.
No, no. Well, how do you want folks to feel when they come to Market Steer?
I that's one question on this whole outline that I was like, I don't know. I mean, I want them to feel the same love that I feel and satisfaction. Yeah, I want them to feel special. I want it to feel like it's that it was made from the heart.
Well, you do that.
Oh,
So thank goodness. Okay, what about anything new coming up?
oh, I'm actually we do want another concept eventually, but I think right now we're gonna sit tight and kind of keep the foot on the gas with here at Market Steer for now. The James Beard, all the buzz around that. I wanna enjoy it, not be worried about getting something else going right now.
Okay, so we're gonna do the rapid fire round.
All
You
right.
saw these questions ahead of time, but okay, favorite local ingredient.
Uh, green or red chili, easy.
What's your go-to meal after a long shift?
Well, you're gonna laugh. Kraft mac and cheese out of a box.
Ah, I am.
It used to be Vandy Camp's fish sticks, and I had to stop eating those because
What?
but
Okay.
Kraft mac and cheese, or maybe a quesadilla, but something that's very minimal for me to cook at home.
Well, I can cook you the Kraft mac and cheese. You can come and relax at my house for that. What's Santa Fe's hidden gem restaurant that people are maybe missing?
Mhm.
I bet there's more than one.
Yeah, there's definitely more than one. My kind of my go-to is probably Joseph's. I like to set at the bar. You know, there's you can get everything from, a cup of soup to a fully composed dish. So I think it kind of has a little something for everybody, but I always think it's executed well.
That's a great lamb burger over there in the
The lamb burger, it changed my mind about lamb, actually.
best meal you've ever had.
It's at a restaurant in Seattle called Bateau. If you ever get to Seattle, you should check it out. They have their own in-house butcher. They have this big chalkboard behind, like on that covers the entire dining room wall, and it has the number of steaks that they have available that day, and with different cuts and this and they had cuts on there that I had never really seen marketed other than through a local butcher, and it was really fantastic. And I think we did 4 or 5 courses, and both we walked out and I was like, that's the best smell I've ever had. And I think I could still feel pretty strongly in saying that.
Good answer. Okay, what inspires you outside the kitchen?
Hmm. I mean, I love adventure, and it could be adventure in taking a different hike or going to a different restaurant. Um, I I love to go out to dinner and seeing what other chefs are doing, and that also keeps me inspired here in the kitchen, and you know, checking out new places and architecture. There's so much, but Santa Fe is inspiring just walking outside because you can get a different smell of something of the seasons changing, and it's like, wow, I hadn't thought about what that sensory does to me. Like this spring, like I walked out the other day and I smelled peas. Peas growing by my restaurant, but I had that, like, it was something in my mind, and it was just like, that was inspiring.
It is very sensory. I hadn't thought about, I mean, just the light.
Yeah.
Toby,
And
who's lived here since he was 9 years old, will still walk down the street and say, look at that light.
yeah.
Look at, yeah, yeah. Okay, we have to stop at some point, but Kat, thanks
Yeah, for sure.
for sharing the story and for telling us all about what's going on right now, but also where this came from, because this is an inspiring story. I mean, you were taking care of mama cows and now you're running this restaurant. It's so cool. It's so amazing.
Thank you.
So everybody, I want you to be sure to check out Market Steer. If you haven't been there, I can't believe it, but you do need probably to get a reservation. Don't you think, Kat?
It helps.
It helps.
It helps.
Yeah. Yes. And mark your calendars for November 12th when Santa Fe hosts its own Taste American event. And for our listeners, if you're enjoying this, I mean, this is a new endeavor for us. Instead of doing I Love New Mexico, which is what we were going to do, the first time around, that's when we were going to have Kat on. But if you're enjoying this, don't forget to follow, rate, and share us. And especially share this with a foodie friend who's going to need to know about Cat Crook. Thank you so much.
Thank you.